Argentina and England, folks. Nations Championship round number 3. The final game. I have much belatedly watched this one. This was on early morning here in New Zealand. I've been catching up on other rugby first, but I finally got around to this one. 31-24. I get the feeling the chat is largely going to be about the ref because there was a heap of yellow cards in this game. Very, very hostile feelings between both these teams. You feel the amount of pushing and shoving and incidents between the guys was pretty high. There were no punches thrown, but it was everything but 7 yellow cards is a heck of a lot. Like, we saw a game last night, my time, Ireland against New Zealand, where people were saying there should have been more cards. I don't think anyone would be saying this one should have more cards because there were honestly 7. None of them red, but 7 yellows, 4 to England, 3 to Argentina. It was a bit of a mess at times. Angus Gardner kind of struggling to keep control of the players, who, as I said, were very fired up. It even ended with Angus getting shoved around a little bit because the final call was very contentious. TMO and the ref disagreeing about whether it was a try. Eventually, the ref concedes to the TMO that there's no try. England win the game at the death. Argentina not very happy about that. So it's got a bit of a football feeling about it, which is not a great one. The refs are usually held at a higher level of respect in rugby than in football, so that's a bit disappointing to see at the death. But yeah, very fiery one. We'll go through some of the key events and the stats. You guys can let me know your thoughts on the game. Argentina wearing a different jersey for this one. It wasn't the hoops. It was all kind of blue, commemorative jersey for them. But they won't be happy with how they started. Definitely will be disappointed. Felipe Consopomi got, I don't know, like we saw it in Scotland as well. I know they scored first against Scotland, but we saw them a bit lackluster and only come like at full tempo at certain times of the game. They started not on the right foot, this one, the Argentinians. They conceded a couple of penalties. Like Marcos Krem, I love the guy, but geez, he's sometimes a poor decision maker in terms of his. He was flying into some tackles in the second half when Argentina were in the ascendancy. He gets borderline on his play. I know that's what makes him such a defensive powerhouse, but no arms tackle like within the first couple of minutes of the game gives England a free shot down Argentina's end, like free field position, free territory. England do not make a mistake. Finn Smith and Freeman combine for the first try to Freeman, and there's a bit of handbags even after this first try, which sees Chesum give away a penalty for running in to try and intervene. So the ref's trying to stop all this handbag stuff early on. Doesn't work, but it's an early try to England. 5 points to 0 with the misconversion. Restart is with a penalty because of the Chesum running in, which is an unusual one. And then England continue to concede penalties. They'll be frustrated with how their discipline was in this one, like offside, collapse maul, tackle off the ball. But I was a little bit disappointed with the Argentinian attack because it was largely just one-off runners. Before they were trying to use the width. I think in the second half they used the width a lot more, and it paid off for them because they've got some like electric guys like Albanoz chipping over the top and whatnot, getting a bit more pay. But yeah, they were going to town early with the direct stuff. England got themselves a yellow card warning, went close, but the Argentinian guys ended up knocking on through Crema. So kind of one missed chance for Argentina, one chance taken for England. England a decent value for their 5-point lead. Argentina's scrum won themselves a couple of penalties, but they couldn't convert anything from it. Like Marcus Smith had a nice tackle. I think it was on Mateo Carreras to force him to knock on. And then after the next Argentinian scrum penalty was won, they lost the line out. Like Joe Hayes, the big English prop, is the guy who pounces on loose ball, and it's a direct mistake from Argentina being punished by England. Like Hayes pounces on the ball. Feu Bosso, who was everywhere in this bloody game, we'll get to his stats at the end. Big carry, and then Ben Earl is able to finish it off after, Feu Bosso's done the hard work to kind of crunch them up, and as I said, Joe Hayes has pounced on the turnover ball. So 12 points to 0 with the Earl first try. And then it gets worse for Argentina because Mateo Carreras gets yellow carded, the first of 7. I think was it the only one in the first half? Yeah, he gets yellow carded for a high shot on Freeman. So not only are Argentina 12 points down, but they've got a man down, and then Santi Carreras kicks the bloody restart out on the full. So it's not going well for Argentina. Finn Smith did knock on over the line. England did miss a chance of their own when it was 15 against 14. Argentina actually did pretty well when England conceded a soft penalty to slot a 3-pointer during the yellow card, which is always a nice one because you get 3 points. You get the yellow card clock eaten down a bit. So 12 points to 3 Argentina on the board, but then a huge England scrum on like 32 minutes just obliterated the Argentinian pack. Bernal gets his second just by dotting it down at the back of the scrum. It had been good kind of kick pressure from the English to force the Argentinians to take it back over the line to set up the scrum in the first place. So 19 points to 3. A try scored during the yellow card, even if they did concede the 3. But England are looking pretty comfortable. There's more handbags after the scrum try, but England are looking pretty comfortable. They did have one last chance, England, before halftime, as Faye Bosso had been rampaging, but he knocked that one on. So 19 points to 3 at halftime. We go into the sheds with England looking pretty good value for their lead, despite having less possession and less territory. Second half, though, the Argentinians finally get their game going. As I said, there was a little bit less of the one-off runners and a little bit more ambition, like Albanoz chipping and regathering over the top was very pleasing. England conceding penalties. Argentina go for touch, go for the maul, very close. Then Mateo Carreras gets their first try. Nice pick and go. He's pretty strong for a winger and can get that kind of loose forwards try, even if he is, as I said, not the biggest guy. But 19 points to 10. That is very much game on for the Argentinians. And then we get the cards galore. Like, England's discipline has already been a little bit of an issue. But Van Poortvliet gets a yellow card for a deliberate knock-on. Argentina fluffed their first chance because Chisholm steals the English line out. But Argentina will continue with the high tempo carries, going through a bunch of phases. They're like 20 plus phases. Albanoz went really close. Slade had a nice tackle. But then Coles gets pinged as Albanoz has gone close. He just kind of comes in at the side of a ruck and swipes at the ball. It gets knocked forward, so it's a second deliberate knock-on for England. And he gets himself yellow-carded and as a penalty try because it prevented Pablo Matera. It prevents Matera from potentially going in for a try. So suddenly we're at a 2-point game, and England have got 13 men on the field. All the momentum is with Argentina. The crowd has absolutely come alive. What can Argentina do 15 versus 13? Well, they get themselves a yellow card of their own because Oviedo has a kind of croc roll where he kind of he's partially falls on the limb of Pepper at a breakdown when they've just been pilfered. I think it was Pollock who kicked the ball clear, Pepper who had the pilfer. But yeah, Oviedo gets himself yellow carded. So we're 14 on 13. That was a long TMO call in for that one. And the TMO was having a lot of issues with the TV director as well, getting the footage that he wanted to get. That felt like a battle of its own. I've never heard a TMO kind of having to yell at the bloody TV director to do what he wanted him to do. I don't know if it was a language barrier or what, but they were having some communication issues for sure. Much better from England. They got their maul going, some direct carries before sending it out to the left. And then Pollock, a couple of nice carries from him. And they are finally able to get the ball out to Marcus Smith for the bonus point try. It is a very, very, very nice play from England because I guess it's what you want from the subs. Like Pollock had a nice couple of carries in the build-up to that one. Van Poortvliet with the final ball after Chisholm had gone close. It's very, very nice from England and a perfect way to stifle the building Argentinian momentum. 26 points to 17. Plus, Santi Carreras gets himself yellow-carded for deliberately trying to knock the ball down for that final pass to Smith. So we're like 14 against 13 for a second before the English yellow card expires. Or was it 13-13? It's hard to keep track. There was a lot of yellows. So 2 Argentinian players go to the bin after having had a 2-man advantage. It's not a great way to make the most of the 2-man advantage, put it that way. That's probably a period where Argentina should have gone to town, but they ended up losing 2 players. Argentina lost the lineup with 13 men, and English punished them again. This is maybe one of my favorite tries because it's just Faye Bosso doing the Faye Bosso stuff. Man, he beats 2 or 3 Argentinian tacklers, but it's Curry combining with Van Poortvliet from that kind of Argentinian lost lineout again. It had looked like Argentina were going to run down that clock to at least get Oviedo back on the field, but the lost lineout is the crucial one. Great finish from Faye Bosso in some space, swerving run. He's quick, he's powerful. 31 points to 17. It's a missed conversion. A tough conversion, but it's a missed one. But if you kick that, it's a 3-score game. With that kick, it's 14 points. But surely England are going to win it from here. They've got all the momentum. But the Argentinians got their tails up. It's such a thing. Even in the games in this Nations Series, Nations Championship, they've they've had moments where they really go on fire. This is one of them. England, again, multiple offsides. Pollock gets himself yellow carded. Now it's 15-14 with Argentina, and then the relentless phases of Jogan gets yellow carded for, again, I think that one was offsides. Reset scrums, waste Argentina's time with the 2-man advantage. They probably should have just tapped, because after like several reset scrums, 3 of them, they just tapped the bloody ball anyway. Why not just go for the tap in the first place? I don't really know, because the clock is not their friend. Bernard Janssen van Rensburg throws himself into a tackle. I felt like no arms, but gets himself knocked out on the knee of Oviedo. Looked pretty serious. Hopefully he's all right, but no yellow card for him. And then finally, Picardo, after a lot of hard work with a minute to go, is able to go over for the Argentinians. So we get 31 points to 24. Argentina need to go length of the field to tie the game. They need a converted try against 13 men, though. And they go about as bloody close as you can. They go length of the field, 20 plus phases. Eventually, Delgui over in the corner. And he's twice attempted to be tackled. I think one was it Faber Busso, and the second one was Slade. Both kind of around his shoulders. I know a lot of people will be saying that's a high tackle, should have been a penalty, but you can get guys around the shoulders and it doesn't count as a high tackle as long as you don't get them around the neck. It's borderline, but neither of them's given. The ref says they're not penalties, so we'll go with Angus Gardner on that one. But then the on-field decision is a try from the touch judge. So then they have to go through the palaver of working out whether it is a try or not to Delgui in the corner. Angus Gardner sees the footage and says there's not enough in that one to overturn it. From my eye, looking at it, it looked like he's got the ball on the corner of the touchline and the try line. So that shouldn't be a try. And the TMO is not, how do I say this? He's not pushed back by Angus's initial pushback. Because Angus is like, for me, that's a try, mate. For me, that's a try. A lot of TMOs, I think, in that one cave and just say, okay, yeah, stick with your on-field decision. But the TMO insists that there's clear and obvious evidence that the try should be overturned. I think it's the right call. I can see why those 2 tackles on Delgui are not given as penalties. Even if they're bloody borderline, you see that a fair bit. I know it's going to be controversial because it's the end of the game, but I feel like that happens a fair bit. And I think the TMO got that one right. I think it was just out. It's pretty unlucky, but that's what it is. No guarantee they would have got the conversion anyway, but yeah, it means that the game ends that way. That's when we get the pushing and shoving, guys having to be held back. Angus looks pretty incredulous to be kind of shoved, but I think it was by Alban Oz, who was looking to take the kick for conversion. But yeah, a pretty crazy finish to the game. I'm really glad that wasn't my All Blacks winning in those kind of conditions, because people would be talking all kind of stuff about how we have the ref in our pocket and stuff. But honestly, I think the right conclusion was made, at least for that final call. There were probably too many cards in the game, and the ref probably didn't get control of the game overall, but I think they got the final decision right. Penalties conceded is 14-6 against England. That will not please Steve Borthwick at all. And defenders beaten. Can't be right. Defenders beaten is 55-32. I don't think I've ever seen that many defenders beaten in a match. 55 by Argentina, 32 by England. Wales didn't miss 32 tackles against South Africa, let alone 55. That's insane numbers. Line breaks 7-6 to Argentina. Yellow cards 4-3 against England. Post-contact meters 394 to 293 to the Argentinians. They will feel like they missed some chances for sure. I feel like they faffed about with the scrums at the end, which wasted a bit of time. I felt like they weren't getting the pay they needed out of those initial carries in the first half. But I guess you could argue that was softening up the English defence to let them open up in the second. But I felt like they looked better in the second. England took their opportunities in the first. Like the 22 entries in this one, which is usually a pretty good marker of how efficient teams are. Argentina had 9 22 entries and got the 3 tries. England had 10 22 entries and got more. So sometimes it's just one of those ones. You take your chances. Coles had 35 tackles despite his yellow card, which is a pretty Herculean shift. Faber also had 12 defenders beaten and 3 line breaks, which is pretty bloody impressive, plus his try. Oviedo had 25 carries. Albanoz, 10 defenders beaten. There's still some feeling between these sides. Honestly, it's a real shame that the entire chat is going to be about the ref, given that there was a game of rugby with missed tackles and busted lines and some great skills and whatnot on display as well. But anyway, that's the way the discourse goes. You guys let me know your thoughts on the game. I'm off to watch one more because I haven't seen Scotland play Fiji yet. Still don't know the result. Anyway, you guys take care, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.